On February 25th, 2021, Saisha Mercado walked into a hospital with her then 13-month-old son to get help. She had recently become pregnant and her milk supply had reduced. Her son didn't want anything but breast milk, which if any of us have been breastfeeding mothers, we can totally relate to. Here's Saisha describing it in a press conference.
And my son was refusing to take the fluids that we were giving him. He wanted mama's breast milk, like a lot of breastfeeding babies do.
And she was getting worried, so she went to the hospital for help getting him fluids. But walking into Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida, would lead to the most traumatizing events of this family's life. It ended with her son being taken away from her over claims that she refused to give him a vitamin B12 shot.
But what did we do?
Yeah, what is the crime? Can you please give us a charge?
But who said we neglected?
You refused the B12 shot today.
I didn't refuse it. I said his father was on his way.
No. There was no refusal.
So you're saying you're taking my child away from me?
I am.
Right now,
That's
you
not
can't
gonna
take my
happen.
child away from me.
On the day of recording this video, August 11th, 2021, her son is still in foster care. And today, after giving birth to her newborn baby, the family was surrounded by police cars and their newborn baby was removed from them as well.
We're surrounded right now by Manatee County Sheriff's Department, and that's our current situation. And they are wanting us to turn over our newborn.
Do you not feel anything? You guys, I'm human. This is my baby. My baby is days old. And you're taking my baby away from me. You're taking my baby away from me. You have no heart.
This is very important. There are 0 allegations of abuse in this case. I spoke directly with the captain of the Child Protection Division of the Manatee County Sheriff's Department, Dennis Romano, and he said to me, this case is based all on medical rulings. This is going to be a 4-part video series that details exactly how a child can be taken from a family when there are no abuse allegations. You're going to hear about the accusations that led to the removal of Amin-Ra and their newborn baby. Is the opinion of one medical doctor or one hospital enough to have your child taken from you? In Saisha Mercado and Tyron Diener's case, yes, it was. And for thousands of more families, it is as well. The occurrence is actually so common that it has been coined medical kidnapping. Now, CPS would disagree with that term, but after researching this story for 2 weeks and other cases, I think it is exactly accurate. The definition seems to be attributed to a talk show host of the Medical Kidnap Show, a radio show out of Phoenix, Arizona. Here's the definition being discussed on the show.
We're defining medical kidnapping as a child is removed from the home or from the parents, because sometimes it's not in the home, it's in the hospital. It happens with newborn babies. And it happens where the parents don't want it and the children don't want it either. But somebody, a medical professional or a caseworker or a social worker with Child Protective Services, has made that determination that that child at that point needs to be removed from the home.
Now, we all agree there needs to be protection for children that are being brutalized inside of their homes. I talk about sexual abuse prevention and safe parenting all the time on my platform. But what I don't think we realize, I for sure didn't realize, is how frequently children are removed from loving homes under this broad umbrella of the word neglect. The latest federal child abuse data shows that in 2018, out of the 678,000 children that were determined to be victims of maltreatment, 60.8% of victims were neglected. Now, state to state, these numbers can get even higher. Here's a quote from the Associate Commissioner of the Children's Bureau. This report again demonstrates that most children enter the foster care system not from physical abuse, but from neglect. Here's another clip from the Medical Kidnap Show.
Comes under this more broad term of neglect. Now, that neglect can be something, as I mentioned earlier, like just simply wanting a second opinion from a different doctor on the medical care for your child. And all of a sudden, bam, you're charged with medical neglect.
So here's one example of another family, the Nikolaev family, who wanted a second opinion. They didn't like how they were being treated at the hospital they took their son to. Here's what happened.
What they've done was basically kidnapped our child with the help of police.
It all started with a trip to the hospital.
They were coming up basically with some random stuff. Oh, we need to do this. Finding another thing just to keep us there.
Feeling increasingly trapped and desperate, Anna removed Sammy from the hospital and took him directly to Kaiser for a second opinion.
I just was scared. I did not know what to do, so I packed all our stuff, and we walked out.
And despite going straight to another hospital, CPS showed up at their door the next day. It's caught on their home video camera to take their child by force from her arms.
We'll show you the order, Anna, in a second. Yeah, we'll show it to you. Listen, if you don't, we're going to teach you. Because right now, you're delaying. You're going to be resisting. If you don't go, you're going to go to jail, okay? Don't put your baby through this. So I'm going to grab your baby. You don't resist and don't fight me, okay?
Where is he going to be? He's going to a hospital. Which one? Which one? We're not going to tell you right now because I don't think you're acting, rationally right now.
Now, 2 weeks ago, I would have heard the word neglect and I would have thought about a child that had no caretakers, that was being starved, and there was no love given to this child. But then I saw this really familiar scene of warmth and connection and love pass my social media feed. And the family that I saw was Saisha and Tyron with their little boy, Amin Ra. They are responsive, conscious, holistic parents. They spent their days with their son Amin Ra in their arms, listening to music, drumming, singing, reading, breastfeeding, and connecting in nature. It was an environment rich in serve and return responses between child and parent, and attachment, which is the gold standard for neurological development in a child. That's what this child had with his family, the exact opposite of neglect. So then how was their son ripped from their arms by force and has been in foster care for 6 months, and now their newborn child was just taken from them? Now, this is a brief timeline of the events that led up to the removal of their children. And this is really important because the only thing holding up this case are accusations that the family medically neglected their child. And I want you to see exactly what constituted as medical neglect in this investigation. I hope that this story opens our eyes wide open to the corruption that is inside the Child Protection Services, and that loving parents are having their children stolen from them every day. The only thing from preventing this case from being dismissed are the opinions made by one hospital and one investigator. The family says there is omission of crucial evidence, which I will detail for you, and there are false allegations made. This complaint of false allegations being made is so rampant within Child Protection Services. Former Georgia Senator Nancy Schaefer was an outspoken critic of CPS. In her senatorial report written in 2017 titled The Corrupt Business of Child Protective Services, she writes, I have come to the conclusion that caseworkers and social workers are oftentimes guilty of fraud. They withhold evidence, they fabricate evidence, and they seek to terminate parental rights. However, when charges are made against them, the charges are ignored. So for example, in the case of Amin Ra with his removal, one of those false allegations and the omission of evidence was the claim in the medical reports that he had never been seen by a medical doctor before. Now this is absolutely false. I have read the entire legal report that supports the dismissal of this case. And the family's attorneys have provided all of the evidence that show every single time Amin Ra was seen by a doctor. In fact, in the 30 days before she ended up at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, Saisha had already sought out and seen 3 other healthcare professionals, 2 doctors and 1 lactation consultant, to try to get help with the weaning process that she was having difficulty with. 3 doctors before she went to the hospital, all within 30 days of this timeline. She brought the same concerns to all 3 of them that she saw. She said, my breast milk supply is reducing, my son is reluctant to drink anything but breast milk, and I'm worried that he's not getting enough fluids. What can I do? Let me highlight these dates that she saw them. January 30th, she went to the first doctor with the concerns I just stated. In the discharge statement, the doctor wrote, feared condition not demonstrated. They didn't mention failure to thrive. They said she's doing fine, see a lactation consultant, and keep doing what you're doing. 2 days later, on February 1st, she goes and sees a registered nurse and international board-certified lactation consultant. Again, brings the same concerns. The lactation consultant gives her lots of ideas of ways that she can encourage Amin-Ra to drink other fluids, including an SNS pump, which is the supplemental nursing system, which is a little tube that would deliver fluid besides breast milk while the child is trying to get breast milk. Saisha purchased the pump and she tried it. But then, a few weeks later, on February 25th, she still felt that, you know what, we're not making the progress that I want to see. He's still showing reluctance to anything but breast milk. This is just seeming so hard, and she needed more support. So she scheduled a teledoc appointment, and this doctor on the screen, on the teledoc appointment, told her maybe he has a virus, and told Saisha go ahead and go back to the hospital to see if that was the case. So on that same day as the teledoc appointment, when the doctor suggested that maybe he had a virus and that could be preventing him from drinking other fluids and wanting to eat a lot of food, she took him that same exact day to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. She walked in with the same concerns she'd brought to 3 other healthcare professionals. You guys see this, right? These are parents very concerned with the well-being of their child. The exact opposite of neglectful, right? This mother came to this hospital for help, and her children were taken from her. She came for a healthcare service, to hire them for a service. And she was immediately profiled and falsely accused of medically neglecting her child. Now, in part 2 of this video, you are going to see just how quickly things spiraled out of control once she got to the hospital, that she was forced to sign something that held her captive there, and what ultimately led to the removal of now 2 of her children. Her newborn today was taken from her, and her son was removed from her 6 months ago. The video will be up on my YouTube channel as well as my Instagram. Please share this as far as it can go. This family needs our help. And there will be links below each video with direct calls to action.